Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're tackling a big one. Monthly rent in Tokyo. Something anyone thinking about moving there really needs to understand.
Absolutely. It can seem pretty daunting at first.
We're drawing on some great insights today from moveandstay.com. They've been helping expats and business folks find places across Asia for, over 25 years now?
That's right. A long time, so they've seen it all, really.
So think of this as your practical guide. We'll break down costs, apartment types, how the whole system works without getting bogged down in jargon.
Exactly. Making sense of a new rental market is tough.
So if you're maybe planning a move or just curious, this is for you. Our mission,
Yeah.
give you a clear picture, the essential knowledge you need to rent an apartment in Tokyo.
Okay, let's dive in. Where do we start?
Well, first off, what actually makes the rent what it is?
Yeah.
MoveAndStay.com points out several key things.
Right. It's not just one factor. Location is obviously huge, as moveandstay.com highlights. That's probably the biggest driver.
Central Tokyo versus the outskirts, you mean?
Exactly. Big difference between, say, Shibuya or Shinjuku and the outer wards. It's about demand, access, jobs, everything converging in the center.
Makes sense. More convenient, more desirable, higher price.
Precisely. And it's not just location. Apartment size plays a big role.
Yep.
Studio versus multiple bedrooms,
Yeah,
obviously.
the building itself, age, condition.
Yep. Newer buildings, better condition, they usually command higher rents. And proximity to transport, especially train stations, is critical in Tokyo.
So convenience really does cost more there.
It almost always does.
Okay, so let's talk numbers. MoveAndStay.com gives some ranges.
Yeah.
Right? In pounds, maybe?
Yeah, they give some ballpark figures. For those really central spots like Shinjuku or Shibuya, you could be looking at £1,200 a month, maybe up to £2,500 or even more.
Wow, okay. And if you move slightly out, inner suburbs?
Places like Setagaya or Meguro, there the range might be more like £900 to £1,800 roughly.
Still significant,
Well,
but
yeah.
a noticeable drop.
Definitely. And then you go further out to the outer wards, Adachi, Narima, places like that.
And the cost there?
You might find things in the £600 to £1,200 range. Again, these are averages. You have to research specific spots.
Good point. How does this stack up globally? Like compared to London or New York?
It's interesting. MoveAndStay.com points out that in those prime central Tokyo areas, the rent can actually be quite similar to prime London or New York.
Really? So not necessarily cheaper,
Not in the very best locations, no. But there's a catch.
which is?
The size.
Yeah.
You generally get less space for your money in Tokyo compared to many Western cities. Apartments tend to be more compact.
Ah, right. That's a crucial trade-off. So same price, smaller place.
Often, yes. And MoveAndStay.com, based on their decades of experience across Asia, they also mention Sydney often turns out to be even pricier than Tokyo.
Good perspective. And it's
Right.
not just rent, is it? You need to think about the total cost of living.
Absolutely. Transport, groceries, that all feeds into whether a place is truly affordable for you.
Okay, let's zoom in again on specific wards. Shinjuku was the high price example.
Yeah, because it's so vibrant, connected, a major hub.
But moveandstay.com suggests you don't have to be right in Shinjuku to be near it, right? There are slightly cheaper options close by.
Exactly. They suggest looking at neighboring wards like Toshimaku or Nakano-ku. You get good access, but maybe save a bit on rent.
Smart. And for the really budget conscious, the outer wards.
Definitely. Places like Katsushika-ku, Nariyaku, Dabashi-ku, Adachi-ku, you get the idea. They consistently offer lower rents.
What about areas maybe closer to other popular spots, like Shibuya?
Well, MoveAndStay.com mentions Otaku and Setagaya-ku. They're closer to Shibuya and the upscale Minato-ku, but can still be more affordable. They suggest an average for a 1K apartment, there might be around 80,000.
Okay, so about 450, 500 pounds a month currently, give or take exchange rates.
Something like that, yeah. It shows there's value if you look slightly beyond the absolute hotspots.
So research pays off. Do these prices stay static or do they change?
Oh, they definitely fluctuate. MoveAndStay.com notes this is influenced by the economy, but also the time of year.
Like a moving season.
Pretty much. There are peak times when more people are looking, which can push prices up. You might find slightly better deals during off-peak seasons.
Interesting. And what about distance from the station? Does
Yeah.
that make a difference?
It can. MoveAndStay.com suggests that apartments more than a 10-minute walk from a station often come with some savings.
A small compromise for a lower rent, potentially?
Potentially. But they also offer a word of caution based on their experience.
What's that?
Be wary of spending too much of your income on rent, especially for a tiny place in the center. They suggest keeping it under 30% of your salary if possible to avoid financial stress.
Solid advice. Okay, let's shift gears to something uniquely Japanese, or at least common there, the upfront costs. It's not just the first month's rent, is it?
Not by a long shot. And this is where MoveAndStay.com's expertise in the Asian market really helps clarify things. There are several costs beyond the standard deposit.
Like key money. What is that exactly?
Right, Reikin. It's essentially a non-refundable gift to the landlord, usually 1 or 2 months' rent.
A gift. Well,
Historically, MoveAndStay.com explains, it dates back to post-WWII housing shortages. It was a thank you for letting you rent. It's becoming less common, but definitely still exists.
wow. Okay, so that's non-refundable. What else?
Then there's the security deposit, shikinyen. This one is usually refundable minus cleaning or repair costs. Again, typically 1 or 2 months' rent.
Okay, so that's potentially 4 months' rent already just for those two.
Potentially, yes, and we're not done yet.
Oh boy. What else?
You'll almost always pay an agency fee to Kaitasurio to the real estate agent who helped you. That's usually 1 month's rent plus tax.
Right, for their services. Makes sense.
Then, of course, you pay the first month's rent up front, mayachin.
Okay, standard enough.
MoveAndStay.com also flags tenant insurance, often mandatory, covers damage, liability. The cost varies, so worth comparing often.
Insurance, okay. Anything else?
Yes, a maintenance fee or kanari high. This covers upkeep of common areas, hallways, elevators, maybe garbage disposal. Could be 5,000 to 20,000 a month, roughly 30 pounds to 120 pounds.
Paid monthly, on top of rent.
Usually, yes. And finally, the guarantor fee. If you don't have a Japanese person to guarantee your lease.
Which most foreigners won't.
Exactly. You'll likely need to use a guarantor company and pay them a fee, often a percentage of the rent.
So the total upfront cost can be quite substantial, easily. Several months' rent.
Easily. Budgeting for this is absolutely crucial. It catches a lot of people out.
No kidding.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about the apartments themselves. MoveAndStay.com mentions two main types, apato and mansion. What's the difference?
This is a key distinction MoveAndStay.com helps people understand. Basically, apato are generally older, often 2 stories, maybe made of wood or lighter steel frames.
That means
Usually cheaper rent, but also potentially thinner walls, less soundproofing,
Wow.
fewer amenities, more basic.
got it. And mansion. Sounds fancier.
They generally are. Mansion usually refers to buildings made of reinforced concrete or steel reinforced concrete, often taller.
So more solid construction.
Right. Better soundproofing, often better security, maybe more modern amenities like auto lock doors, delivery boxes, but they come with a higher price tag.
So a trade-off. Cost versus build quality and features.
Pretty much. Depends on your budget and priorities.
And then there are those layout codes. 1R, 1K, 1DK, 1LDK. Can you decode those for us?
Sure. It's simpler than it looks. 1R means one room. It's a basic studio, sleeping living space, and kitchenette all in one.
Okay, compact.
Very. Then 1K is one room plus kitchen. Still one main room, but the kitchen is usually somewhat separate, maybe by a wall or partition, even if small.
A bit more separation.
Exactly. 1DK is one room plus dining kitchen. You get the main room plus a space large enough to be considered a dining area, separate from the kitchen itself.
Getting bigger.
Yep. And 1LDK is one room plus living dining kitchen. This is very popular. You get a separate bedroom plus a larger combined living, dining, and kitchen area.
Better for couples or needing more distinct spaces.
Definitely. And then you just add bedrooms. 2LDK means 2 bedrooms plus the living, dining, kitchen space. 3LDK is 3 bedrooms, and so on for families or flatmates.
That clarifies it nicely. What about the really high-end? Luxury apartments.
Ah, yes. MoveAndStay.com notes these exist, especially in prime central areas. Think Shinjuku, Shibuya, Minato.
What makes them luxury?
Amenities, mostly. Concierge services, maybe an on-site gym, rooftop gardens, amazing views, high-end finishes, top-notch security.
And the price reflects that, I assume.
Oh, absolutely. Easily double or triple the average rent for the area, sometimes even more. It's a premium market segment.
So a whole range of options depending on what you need and can afford.
Exactly. Choice depends on budget, lifestyle, priorities.
Okay, so someone's ready to start looking. What's the absolute first step MoveAndStay.com would advise?
Budget, without a doubt. And not just the monthly rent figure.
Right, considering everything we just discussed.
Yeah, precisely. Factor in all those potential upfront costs, key money, deposit, agency fee, guarantor fee. Try to keep the monthly rent under that 30% of income guideline if possible. And don't forget ongoing costs like utilities, internet, transport.
Be realistic, even conservative, with the numbers.
Definitely better to budget conservatively. Avoid nasty surprises.
Once a budget's set, what about choosing where to live?
This involves balancing cost, convenience, and atmosphere. MoveAndStay.com helps clients weigh this up. Look at average rents in areas you're considering.
Like those examples earlier. Shibuya around 120K, Nakano maybe 80K.
Yeah, and crucially, factor in the commute time. Shibuya might be 0 minutes if you work there. Nakano 15-20 mins to central hubs. Kichijoji maybe 20-25 minutes.
So how much time are you willing to spend commuting versus how much rent you want to pay?
That's the core question. And also, what kind of neighborhood feel do you want? Bustling city center, quiet residential street further out.
Worth visiting or researching the vibe of different areas.
Highly recommended. Explore, be open to compromise. You might find a hidden gem.
Okay, budget set, location ideas forming. What about timing? Is there a best time to look?
MoveAndStay.com observes clear seasonal trends, drawing on their long experience. January to March is peak season.
More than.
Start of the Japanese school and business year, lots of people moving. So more options available. More competition, potentially higher prices. It's busier.
What about other times?
April to August is generally considered off-peak. Demand eases a bit, so you might find better deals. Maybe slightly fewer listings, though.
And late year, November, December.
That can be the low season, potentially the best prices, but the selection might be quite limited. Fewer people move then.
So timing could save you money, but might limit choice. Another trade-off.
It often is.
So final steps. You're actively searching. What does MoveAndStay.com advise for navigating the market?
Okay, recapping the key steps. 1, budget lockdown, including all costs.
Yeah.
2, location chosen, balancing commute, amenities, vibe. 3, find a good real estate agent.
Especially one who speaks English, if needed.
Crucial if your Japanese isn't fluent. They're vital guides. Also, use online resources. Websites like Gajinpot or Real Estate Japan cater to foreigners.
Good tip.
What else?
Be prepared. Have your documents ready: passport, visa or residence card, proof of income or employment. It speeds things up.
Makes the process smoother.
Definitely. And clarify the guarantor situation early. Will you need a guarantor company? Finally, if you have pets, be very specific about needing pet-friendly places. They're less common.
Great checklist. Now, once you're in the apartment, what ongoing costs beyond rent need to be budgeted for monthly?
Right, the day-to-day stuff. MoveAndStay.com always reminds people about these. Utilities are key. Electricity, gas, water. Costs can vary, especially electricity with heating cooling seasons.
Gas for cooking and hot water, usually.
Often, yes. Water is generally quite reasonable. Then there's that maintenance fee, the cannerai we mentioned earlier.
Paid alongside rent?
Typically. And remember to arrange all your utilities yourself. Electricity, gas, water, internet. The agent might help, but it's your responsibility. What about parking, if someone needs a car?
Parking in central Tokyo can be incredibly expensive. We're talking $20,000 to $50,000 a month, maybe more. Around 110 to 280 pounds plus.
Wow. So public transport is usually the way to go?
For most people, financially and practically, yes. The system is excellent.
Okay. Any other regular monthly bills?
Tenant insurance renewal, usually annually, but budget monthly. And your internet and phone bills, of course. Research providers for deals there, too.
So again, it's about planning for the total monthly outgoing, not just the rent.
Absolutely essential to avoid getting stretched thin. Budget for everything.
This has been incredibly thorough. So to wrap up, the Tokyo rental market. It has its complexities, for sure.
It does. Understanding the upfront costs, the ongoing expenses, the different apartment types and locations, it takes some homework.
But it's definitely not impossible. As MoveAndStay.com's long history shows, people navigate it successfully all the time. Planning and flexibility seem key.
They really are. With good preparation, you can find a great place.
So, a final thought then. Considering MoveAndStay.com has been helping people find places across Asia for over 2 decades, what other parts of moving to a new country, maybe like Japan, might actually be more challenging or perhaps less challenging than sorting out the housing?
That's a really interesting question to ponder. Language barriers, cultural adjustments, finding a community. Compared to finding an apartment, where do those rank?
Something for our listeners to think about. Thanks so much for breaking all that down for us today.
My pleasure.
We really hope this deep dive has given you the clarity and confidence you need if you're considering renting in Tokyo. Good luck with your search.